Good morning. Welcome back to the Red Mic. Happy Thursday. I am so glad you're here. These Red Mic messages are leadership and life lessons I've picked up for 25 years as a public servant, 16 years as a youth football coach and scouting volunteer, and 10 years as a mediocre athlete with far more heart than actual physical ability. Now, I get some of these Red Mic messages from pop culture. I get some of them from books. I get some of them from great literature. Um, Even get some from the Bible. And today is sort of a combination of a lot of that. Um, I don't listen to Joe Rogan's podcast a lot, um, mainly because they're very long. And I mean, I don't know how anybody can sit down and listen to 2.5, 3 hours. um, and I don't know how he does it as often as he does. Um, but I was listening last night at the gym, I was listening to him talk to Jordan Peterson. And uh, Jordan was making a point, and I'd heard him made this point before, but um, for some reason it just resonated with me, and I wanted to talk about it. So I put a couple other things on the shelf. Tomorrow I'm still going to talk about firing people, but Jordan was talking about um, the story of Moses, and I mean, no one can deny Moses was a great leader. I mean, led his people out of Egypt. Took 40 years, but he led his people out of Egypt. Um, but Peterson told a story, and I'd heard this before, and like I said, it just never really resonated with me. It's the story of Moses and the moment that he lost his chance to enter the promised land. Now, the people of Egypt, they've been suffering 40 years trying to get out of Egypt. Um, and they were complaining again. There was no water. They didn't have any patience. And Moses, leading them for years through this wilderness, had gone to God and said, "Hey, I need your help." Well, God told him to speak to a rock, basically ask the rock for water, and that water would flow. Well, Moses was frustrated. Everybody was in his head, and they were. So he was frustrated, probably a little angry, definitely burned out a little bit, and he hit the rock with his staff. And this was the same staff that had consumed uh, the the other staffs of the magicians in Pharaoh's court. It was imbued at least a little bit with the power of God, um, and or it was the power of God flowing through Moses from God. Anyway, and water came out, but there was a pretty high cost. God told him, "You didn't trust me enough to honor me as holy, to do what I ask you to do the way I ask you to do it." So, because of that, he basically told Moses that you're not going to enter the promised land. You're not going to enter this land that you've been leading your people toward. Think about that for a sec. I mean, Moses did what worked. I mean, it did. His people drank all they wanted. But he didn't do what he was asked to do. He got results, but he didn't honor the relationship. He led with control, not trust. And that's what cost him everything. Now, Holy Week was last week, Easter was Sunday. Compare and contrast what Moses did with the way that Jesus led. Jesus doesn't strike, he invites. He says, "Come to me, all of you who are weary and burdened." He knocks. He doesn't kick the door in. He doesn't force the rock to yield water. Instead, he offers living water to anyone who asks. Two types of leadership. One demands, that was Moses, and the other draws in a permissive kind of way. One relies on pride and force, and the other relied on presence, service, and permission. Every leader is going to face a crossroad. Every parent, every coach, every supervisor, we all get tired, we all get weary, We all want to knock down that door. We want to strike that rock. Sometimes, though, real leadership, lasting leadership, looks more like an open door than a clenched fist. So, today ask yourself, are you leading like Moses on a bad day or like Christ on his best? That's today's Red Mike message. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you found it helpful. Again, I don't delve into religious questions often, but when the moment strikes, it strikes. I appreciate you being here. Again, tomorrow I'm going to talk about firing people and a little bit about Billy Bean and all of that. So, uh, thanks for being here. Please give me a like, a follow, and a share. I'll see you again tomorrow. And don't forget, life is short. Drink the bourbon.